So welcome, Andy Costa. It's a great pleasure to have you here. I mean, as far as I know you since I was 10 years old. So, you've been my mentor, you've been my friend. And if I should
10
have,
years old.
I was 10 years old, yeah. So basically, if I should introduce you, it would take me too long. So let me say this. Please, could you introduce yourself, and then we'll go into my questions about what's going on here.
Thank you. So thank you, Davide, for inviting me. And number one, this is a very, amazing moment for our experience, for humanity. It's one of those, it's united humanity, us as humanity. So, well, I'm actually in Huntington Beach, California, having had for a long time my residence in Corona del Mar. Now, wouldn't you imagine that the word Corona has now, entered it to a little realm of infamy? So I'm first of all, it's a very serious time right now, and even though I look for the positive, and I realize how hard, how sad, and how real it is, the loss, that's going on from the point of my family members. I have many family members that are at risk, especially in Italy, where I lived for about 12 years, but here in Huntington Beach, California, there's a very sad feeling, especially right now, this week. This is Monday of the third week of what has been a very choppy, seclusion from one another. The social distancing is taking shape 1 week at a time, and it's harder, obviously. And we've had from the media here the constant reminder that we're about 2 weeks to 3 weeks behind Italy, ironically. And when I've been on the phone with Italy almost daily, I realize that we're very fortunate if we're really 3 weeks behind. I think we're closer than we think. And of course, the United States is huge, and in New York, they're not even 1 day behind Italy, or a few days.
Right.
But what do they mean there? They're counting bodies, they're counting deaths, or those that have, COVID-19. And I believe that it's hard. We have to get past the numbers, to really say this is honestly a very serious time, and very difficult.
So one thing, from Italy, because now it seems like the curve is going down, but we don't have any precise number. We don't have the trend long enough to say that we're coming out of it. So it's very cautious what we say right now at this point. But we've been through like a very difficult moment now. How how's people reacting to the situation? Like, I mean, people around, I remember, those areas are like, surf and just going out. It's always sunny. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know if it's been raining also, but how is people reacting to this situation? How are they responding? Is there a lot of fear around? Are people far from each other? I mean, is the lockdown going on? I mean, is like a voluntary lockdown, or is it like already like imposed on people?
Well, so I can only speak for my corner of the world here, and not for in general all. There's been an overall positive response that the social isolation, or staying home, not and limiting. There's everything's closed, by the way, except for markets, pharmacies, certain supermarkets where you can buy food, get medicine. That's it.
One thing I like to ask you, because I know you have restaurants, and you've been in restaurant business for a long time. So what's going on in that area? I mean, your restaurants are closed. I mean, I know you have 6 or 7. I don't remember anymore exactly. But what's happening on the restaurant side?
Yeah. So let me clue in my background. Part of my background is that my family has owned and operated a small restaurant chain here in Orange County, and we have 5 restaurants that are along the coast, basically, and then 1 restaurant that's inland. so 6 altogether. And it's been, a challenge for every type of restaurant. Fortunately, the kind of restaurants I have has a strong, loyal customer base that are coming in daily for pickup, and we do a lot of delivery. We've been delivering our food for almost 30 years. So now I over the last 2 years have been the overall day-to-day running of our restaurants has been given to a small management group, and in a sense, I'm giving over the management of the restaurants to someone else, so that I could focus on other projects. And so I don't consider myself an ex-restaurateur. However, I'm bringing to the table for a lot of my restaurant friends consulting, and more on the lines of, well, lately, where we are today, what will the new normal look like, for restaurants? After this time, how are we going to operate? But let me also just say right now, right at this moment, there is a solid consensus that when this is over, if we can say it's ever over, but over half the restaurants will not reopen. And that's tragic for so many families. I basically work with and network with a lot of restaurant owners that are coming from my background, that are their families, they have pizza places. A lot of them have small restaurants. I have a few friends that have restaurants or operate, a concept in casinos here locally and in Las Vegas. So not just in California, but out of state. And so that's been on my business side. I've been doing a lot of that online conference calls, and that where we're really discussing or looking at what will the restaurant business look like in 7 months. To say 3 months, there's that short-term look or view, but I'm really more interested in how can we be ready for what the new normal will look like. So
and the funny thing is that nobody knows how it will look like for anybody. So the point here is that we're guessing, our way through something that we have never seen before. So we don't know what's going to happen, and that's kind of the beauty of the situation, because uncertainty. Usually we make plans knowing what's going to happen, or projecting something. Here it's difficult to project because we are in the middle of the situation. So that's something that makes it much more difficult, and even to keep it open, it must be difficult, because delivery might be good, but it's not going to be as good as when you had dining before, because you had restaurants in which it was beautiful to come in and dine in.
Well, dining in. Okay, so let's look at that aspect. Fortunately for the restaurants that I own, or I'm still involved with, have only maybe 30 to 40% dine-in ratio, and delivery and pickup is far more. So we were situated. We were logistically set up for a much better. Our operation already goes to that. Now, for those that are doing 80% dine-in or and using third-party delivery, that's where a lot of the fatalities will occur. That they will either have to adjust or not reopen. Or, for instance, the one thing over the weekend was the dining rooms. The dining rooms all over will change. We won't be having freestanding tables. It will be more, so I can kind of tell you that most restaurateurs are preparing to spend some money to change their dining areas into actual booths. A booth is so that each table has a wall around it, in a sense. So if you're there with your party, you would basically have a four-top, a party of 3 or 4. It will be less and less where you'll find large tables. It'd be more table. The largest you would find is a four-top with a booth around it, and that being more of a protective area to dine out in public. And so that's a major expense for a lot of restaurants. Will they do it? Some will, and many won't.
Now, that's a very interesting thing. And, I would like to ask you, if I could keep talking to you along the line, if in a couple of weeks we get back to this conversation and you can update us on the evolving of the situation, because yes, that's one of the things. And that's visible, like having four people max at a table. I mean, think about it in Italy, we have tables of 20 people yelling and screaming and drinking, and that's not going to happen anymore. And so that's historical. And at a certain point, it will become like, oh, we tell to our kids, oh, but you don't know how it was when it was a different world, So seems
Ah,
like an historical moment in which even go out at dinner is going to be different.
well, no, I mean, what you just touched on. How will Italy, come si fa in Italia, mangiare insieme
Yeah,
quando non puoi andare fuori, non c'è una tavola che può, it's going to be nuts,
it's going to
to
be different.
adjust.
Yeah, it's going to be
Oh,
totally different.
entirely.
Yeah,
And yeah, that hurts me actually. I mean, I feel I well up here in pain actually over the
yeah,
fact that our whole world has changed. Now, will we be able to also, on another level, be able to define how to stop, the actual virus, containing it? Will we, wherever you go publicly, by the way, the use of
yeah,
what is it
yeah,
called here? The infrared thermometer, the instant read of your temperature. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a monitor of some kind as you enter any public place where it will instantly read, are you a threat? Are you,
yeah.
are you safe?
Uh,
So I think once we have that, for instance, that's going to assure people, oh yeah, I can be in this room full of people. They've all been instantly tested, and no one in here has a pathogen, that is a threat. Now that hopefully will come in a way where socially we accept it, where we recognize it, or will we all be sitting around with a mask on?
yeah, yeah,
Will it be?
yeah.
Will we? I'll never see your smile again,
Right.
because unless you put it on your mask, or maybe it's a transfer
Yes.
mask, or it's a see-through mask. I don't know. I mean, there's
Uh,
going to be a lot of creative things going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, that's
One thing we know is that probably, one of the, I mean, at least for me in Italy, one of the most difficult, I was talking today about it with some friend, and, I used to hug people, that was my thing, I love to hug people, physical contact, and I thought it was an habit. Actually, now that I cannot do it anymore, it feels more like a need, to connect, and I gotta relax because, probably that's not gonna happen, and people won't like it anymore as much as they used to like it, so life is going to be a little more distant from one another, and that's why also I'm doing these calls, because we need to find a way to reinterpret intimacy, with others, because if we let this thing go as it's going, we will be divided by one another, and I don't think that's what we want. And so that's kind of what I'm coming from in this, because
right.
next week is Easter. In Italy, Easter is famous to be like, family, and be together and just like eat together and have fun. And that's not going to happen this year. So,
No,
and it's very, it could be like just one year, it could be the future, it could be anything. But now this year, we're not going to do this, and so,
I you know
yeah,
no it, so you're touching our social interaction is undergoing as we speak an evolving, so to speak. I think the new art will be how to elbow each other
right.
in a very real way. When I say elbow, so
Yes,
you and
yes.
I learning how to rub elbow. And if you're
Right.
in France, you'll do it 3 times. I don't know. It's like kissing. We kiss su tutti e due guanci e si fa così. And there's going to be some kind of art form to
Right,
it. I
right,
mean,
right, right, right.
but I also noticed lately, even just in the last week, when I've been, so my being outside has been down to two times I've gone outside of my house, my place. I'm so blessed to have a beautiful place to be in. However, it was early in the morning that I had to go for a food shop and to a pharmacy stop. And the other times that I've been out, though, now I have to be also very clear, I've been out on my bike. There's a trail that goes along the coast, and it's still open. We can't stop to go on the beach. here, or in the public areas along the beach, but you can still use the trail. What I noticed in the last 2 weeks, actually, more interaction with our eyes. You know, we're acknowledging each other. As even I go by on a bike, I'm just going, hey, you know, estoy una barba, mamma mia. You know, it's like I'm making faces of people of recognition, or assuring them, you know, I'm assuring them. And I think that's very important, to assure, recognize and assure. Even folks I've never seen before, I'm like so happy to see them, you know. I'm like, oh man, you're alive, thank God, you know, you're alive, I love you. And I
You know,
don't,
that's it.
I'm
That's
just being,
it. And no, and I
oh,
think that, you know, the closeness to death is what brings to the
yeah,
understanding of how precious life is, you know. And I think that's what we're
yeah,
realizing right now. We were looking for what we didn't have before this crisis. Now we're looking to get to still keep something of what we have. And I think that's really precious, because once you understand that what we had was precious, then you're going to go back out and appreciate every little piece you can get back of intimacy. And I think that's really
yeah,
the case. You know, appreciation will rise, and I believe we will be able to appreciate every single moment of intimacy that we can get. You know, and I think that
yeah,
that's the beauty that
absolutely,
can come out of this situation. So Andy,
yeah.
I ask you to be able to call you once in a while, just to see how things evolve over there, you know, and we'll keep in touch. And thank you for your time. Thank you for being with me and with us. And I think it's precious to be able to connect. So,
Are you kidding? This is
oh,
like, you know, my
mhm.
no, this is delightful. Thank you so much. You know, I'll give you four
There
elbows
you
here.
go.
Here we
All
go,
right,
man.
all right,
You
man.
know, all right.
We'll talk
We'll do
soon.
soon.
Ciao, Andy.
Bye.